Hey everybody, Ryan here with Vision Appraisals, and I am in Sacramento, California at the AXE conference, which is the Appraisers Conference and Trade Show. Back now in the office from the Appraisal Conference and Trade Show in Sacramento, California, and I'm going to do a little follow-up, a little recap of this conference and talk a little bit about some of the points and little nuggets and takeaways that I got. I've always been a huge supporter of conferences. I think conferences are a great way to get continuing education, to network, and learn something new. I really love the networking part about conferences. I've always believed that you can almost learn more just from speaking to people in the hallways or at the trade show than at some of the seminars. This was great. I met a lot of people, made a lot of contacts. I'm going to be following up with those contacts this week. As a trainee looking for a supervisor, I didn't make a lot of local contacts, but I was surprised with the Sacramento conference how many people were from all over the U.S. I met people from Arkansas, South Carolina, there was Kentucky, there was people from all over the U.S. So it was a great conference. Really liked meeting all of those individuals. Since I am new to the industry, it really was insightful and really liked it, enjoyed it. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the points and things that I got from the conference other than the networking and the many different people that I met. So on day one, I got there on Saturday. They had a appraisal trainee event or seminar. It was ADI put it on, Appraisal Diversity Initiative. There was a lot of trainees in this seminar. There was a lot of very new people, not even just trainees, but people that were just basically looking into the industry to see if it was something that they wanted to take further. So I did notice that it was a very some basic questions about the industry, people just trying to learn more about it. So that was a good seminar. The things that I got, there were some, points. Angela from Brea was there, which was great to meet her. She talked a lot about some of the state policies and state requirements. Learned some interesting things. 60% of appraisers are over the age of 55. 90% of them are white and 70% of them are male. So the industry is really trying to change that. They're really wanting to, advertise and kind of market to all races and all ages because people are aging out. That's one problem with this industry is everybody that's been doing this has been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. They're aging out. There's not a lot of young blood coming into it. Just looking around the conference, there wasn't a lot of young people there. I met a few people that were maybe under the age of 40. But for the most part, I would say majority of them, like I said, are over the age of 50. So that was some interesting statistics. The next day on Sunday, I attended a special trainee event. It was for trainees. Now, what I liked about this is everybody in the room, except for one person, has already done their continuing education. So they're just like me on the road to finding a supervisor. So it was really nice to network with them and share a lot of the same difficulties that all of us are going through. They really did push the associations. I did notice that was kind of a trend. There's a lot of different associations. They want you to get involved, which I agree. It's good to get involved in your industry and have a voice. And the different associations, REAA, NAA, and some of your local ones. I will be starting to look in more at joining some of those. But one thing I learned with the last industry I was in is when it comes down to the end of the year, next thing you know, you're spending thousands of dollars to be part of all these different associations because you have national organizations like that. And then you have your local ones like Chamber of Commerce, maybe a leads group, real estate groups, Association of Realtors, things like that. So I think you want to be specific on what associations you join because you don't want to be spending $2,000-$3,000 at the end of the year just on association dues. The training event was really good. They had a mock interview, what kind of things to say in an interview, what kind of questions to ask. I took a lot of notes on that, which was great. Also, it talked about what non-lending work to do too. They gave us a lot of different ideas for that. What kind of tools you use. Those are good questions to ask. A lot of us younger people that are getting into the industry that are used to the tech, and some of the older generations might not be using some of this new tech. Some are still using clipboards and a tape measure. So, with the digital era, we've got, tablets, and we have laser measures, and even your phones now that you can go in and scan a room. So that is definitely one thing to keep in mind when looking for a supervisor, is what can you bring to the table? And sometimes the tech side of it is something that would be very valuable to some of the older generations that are still doing this. Some of the people that spoke recommended a lot of different books to read, which is always good. A lot of seminars, you get a lot of speakers and presenters that do recommend books. I'm not a huge reader, but had about a dozen books recommended. I think it was Hal that recommended these. Things like The Appraisal of Real Estate by AI, Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal, a Field Guide to American Houses to learn about the different styles of houses, The Color of Law, Think Again, The Pumpkin Plan, Rest When You Get More Done When You Work Less, Start With Why, and Give and Take. Just a few books that Hal recommended that I'm probably going to look into the Audible versions. I'm not a huge reader, so those are some good books. Diversity. They talked about diversity. I mentioned that before, finding other ways to do appraisals, not just lending. Another great point they made was get certified in as much things as you can. How to measure. There's a course, I think it's from Appraisal e-learning, on measuring. They have a certification on measuring. So get certified as many things as you can, so you bring as much as you can to the table when looking for a supervisor. Some of those other services, pre-purchase, pre-listing, those are good to do. Estate planning, divorces, IRS-related appraisals, assessment appeals, and market rent studies. Just a few things that were recommended during this. Another book, the HUD Handbook, Fannie Mae Selling Guide, Freddie Mac Seller and Services Guide, IRS Publication 561, and look over the local assessor website for disputes. This is just kind of some stuff that Josh had recommended during this seminar. So this was the trainee seminar. I met some good people in there. That was on Sunday. They also had a separate supervisor seminar going on as well for just supervisors. Day 3 for me was the actual ACTS conference. Now, I was only able to attend day 3. Day 4, I had to leave and come home, so I wasn't able to attend those seminars. But the conference, day 1, had some good things. The just morning time was welcome opening remarks, and then we had a economics seminar, which was really good. Talked about kind of where things are at, where they're going, current market economy, and just spoke about interest rates and where they've been in the last 40 years. Kevin spoke about that, and then Ryan spoke more about the local market in Sacramento. The second one was the ASC update, which the appraisal subcommittee, Jim Park spoke about that. Spoke about the PAVE task force that Biden put in place. Key themes: making appraisal industry more accountable, empowering consumers with info and assistance, ensuring tech-based alternatives to humans. Ensuring tech-based alternatives other than humans. So that was more talking that the tech coming out is okay to accept. A lot of people are scared of change, kind of scared of the tech, afraid it's going to take over the industry. So it's more about ensuring that that is not going to happen. And cultivating a profession that is well-trained and serves its communities, keeping industry accountable, leveraging federal data and expertise to inform policies, practices, and research on appraisal bias. So Jim spoke about a lot of the things the appraisal subcommittee does and will be continuing to do. He talked about some hearings. ASC has some hearings on bias. There's actually some cases going on. He talked about some grants programs. A lot of people brought up that the grants programs really need to focus on training grants. Many people spoke that some of those grants need to go towards supervisors and trainees. And that is true because there's really not a whole lot in it for a supervisor that is training a trainee that's going to go out on their own. There's no real incentive there. Once we're that. The next seminar was called Don't Panic. And they just talked about the progress of the industry, change is going to happen, and it's good to adapt. They talked about hybrid and desktop appraisals. They talked about the selling guide that came out in March that kind of hit the industry hard. Appraisal modernization, and basically how to adapt to that. Another great seminar was about disaster appraising. Gentleman Brian spoke about appraising wildfire disaster. So after a fire goes through, we're in California, we have a lot of wildfires, going in and appraising those homes and what the scope of work of that appraisal is. So that was very interesting. It's a good little niche mark that he's in. He's up in Grass Valley. The next one was ABCs of ADUs, accessory dwelling units. So this was talking about additional units, dwelling units on properties, ones that are smaller than the main house, and what those qualifications are under Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Support for adjustments and market conditions. It talked about, this was another seminar that they were just talking about, your adjustment techniques. Don't use just one technique. Use multiple techniques to come to a valuation. Basically, one of the quotes is, think of it as a hammer. Don't use a hammer to hit everything at once. Use different techniques and different tools. Sensitivity analysis, climate, follow the adjustment. Be thoughtful in your adjustments. So that was my last seminar of the day. The next day they had bias and the ethics rule, what's new with FHA, recent changes in appraising for the VA, Fannie Mae facing the future, Fannie Freddie joint update, connecting with Freddie Mac, diversity and inclusions, navigating risk and liability as an appraiser, top 5 deficiencies in your appraisal report, the power of one or more, conference recap. The one that I also missed on Monday was defending yourself with or without an advocate and getting involved with national and state appraisal organizations. So overall, I loved it. Like I said, I'm a conference guy. I like going to conference. I love networking. So I encourage you to look at some of the local organizations, the state organizations, find out when and where they're having some conferences. I have some mixers coming up that are going to be about an hour away. I'm going to be attending. So get involved. I loved that was kind of the main point that they got across to everybody, is to get involved. But I learned a lot, networked a lot, and hopefully this has encouraged you to go out and attend a conference as well. Because I know there's a lot of trainees out there that are still, kind of scared to get out there and mingle and network. So get out there. Everybody was so friendly and willing to help me and put me in touch with new contacts. And that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day, is getting in contact with those that I met. So thank you for watching, and leave us a comment if you were there, what you learned, or what you come away with when you attend a conference. Thanks for watching.